Hey everyone, William Cho here, and we're here with the VCT Pacific preview show, where we're going to be able to talk about all the teams, what we saw at lock-in, and what we're looking forward to for the rest of the year. I have two of my best friends, right? At least in VALORANT, not in the whole world.
Yeah, we'll give it that.
We got Seth and Clinton over here. You guys want to do a quick intro for the fans?
Hello, I'm Achilleos. That's it. That's all I got.
You are Achilleos, that is true.
I am paper thin, I think. I hope.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, lock-in just finished. You were there in Brazil. Let's hear your side first, because obviously we got to watch the games from home.
I mean, Sao Paulo, gorgeous. First time in Brazil, so that was a completely new experience for me, but a very grueling tournament for all of the casters, for the teams and whatnot. I mean, going through 32 teams was a pretty wild experience, but it was kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, so it was great.
I know you watched a lot of it. You were doing a couple co-streams as well for the DRX games. What'd you think of the overall kind of results and the gameplay?
I think it was really good. I mean, it's really exciting to get to see like some of these teams who have been trying to put it together on like a short amount of time. To see what they're able to bring, to see some kind of, you know, teams that maybe overperformed versus what some of the expectations were, some that underperformed, those kind of things. So it's a good way to kind of kick off this whole season, this whole year.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of surprises as far as like teams that we had kind of expected to be a bit weaker. I mean, especially for Pacific, just because, you know, there's a lot of new faces and whatnot coming out from Pacific that really performed well beyond our expectations. So now the expectations are high, and hopefully the teams can cope with this much tension that they're going to have going into this league.
I think there's a lot more interest now in how do these teams perform, who's actually going to Masters. Let's talk about this. One of the teams I really want to talk about was Talon, right? They had that core, so everyone knew they were pretty good, but we weren't really sure what to expect coming into VCT Pacific with maybe a couple of these player changes and also role changes that we saw coming into lock-in. Some people are saying like they could be top two.
I mean, yeah, through the roof right now. Talon looked super clean, and I mean, very much challenged DRX in that alpha bracket when they finally got down to that last semifinal. So wasn't sure what to anticipate. They looked okay in the offseason, but with the pickups of Jip Boys and Garnets, like they just completely fell into their roles and looked super comfortable. So I'm fully anticipating that they very well could be the second place team, if not challenging DRX, because they've already done it once with a little bit more time, with more practice, scrimming around, you know, against all the other teams in Pacific, as well as, you know, the teams that are going to be in challengers from multiple regions. I think that there's a lot more growth that can be there for this team.
One maybe, you know, kind of questionable thing a lot of people are beating around the bush about is Patty Fan. Where does he fit in? Do you think they could look stronger with Patty Fan, or maybe do they have the answer with Garnets?
I could see if his wrist gets to a point where it's recovered enough that he could play, maybe he's going to play on, you know, very jet-specific maps, and then you flip Garnets in for maps like Fracture, like, you know, Lotus and whatnot, where you really want to have that race split as well. I could see that kind of being a bit of a rotation, but it really will come down to how much it adjusts the play style of the rest of the team.
So let's just jump all over the place, all right? Soldom and Detonation focused me. So I got to cast their games on the Korean side this time around. And I'll be honest, they underperformed. They were a team that underperformed compared to what I thought their roster looked like. The pieces just didn't seem to come together to a whole puzzle.
I think it was very clearly not the players playing at their peak. To my knowledge, this is also the first time that they've been able to play together as a full five on stage.
Yeah, because Suggest couldn't come,
Suggest was sick.
You're right.
So this is the first time they had everybody on stage, but that was not the level of play that we anticipate from those players. It's a little bit similar to like Team Liquid on the opposite side, you know, for EMEA. Like there's clearly talent on this roster. I just think that it's going to take a little bit more time to have it really all come together. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to improve before the start of the league.
Okay, let's have you guys pick one of the teams that you want to talk about the most. That's not DRX.
I'll let you go.
Damn, that was my whole list.
Yeah, I was just like, I was only going to talk about DRX.
That's all I want to talk about.
No, I think, I mean, just because we're kind of on the topic of DFM, it's a team that needs to find their identity and really find their groove and whatnot. I think one of the other ones that's kind of like that in the league is going to be RRQ.
Oh, okay. Okay, this went a different direction than I thought.
Another team that, you know, unfortunately did go out in the first round. They weren't able to get their win, but I know that the team is taking a very good approach about how they're supporting this roster. They're giving them great facilities and whatnot to practice in, and they're also not setting like the highest of expectations on these players, because while they do have those veterans in Tevital and Flipscheider, they also have these three new players, so they're not going out the gate and saying like, you guys have to hit first, you know, we got to be a dominant force. They're saying like, you know what, like this is going to be a longer term project and whatnot. We are going to be building up these players to become a very scary team within the region. So I like the approach. They're putting as little weight on the shoulders of these young rookies as humanly possible to make them feel as comfortable as possible.
All right, speaking of projects, I think this one everyone around the world agrees on is Global Esports.
I'm really hopeful for them in the future because they've shown a lot of promise here. So I think that as time continues to go on, you build up those synergies, they could be a very scary team that's contending for the top four.
And I've heard from a lot of different teams across a lot of different regions.
Word on the street.
Word on the street is is GE is pretty damn good. Like they're really good. And this is like a lot. I've heard this now from multiple different regions, multiple different teams, that they are really good when you play against them like offline. Okay, so I got the team I really want to talk about. There were some big roster changes that were just announced with this team, Gen G. First of all, I was excited about this team even before the roster changes, but now with Sylvan and Goddead coming in, Sylvan in particular, I am super excited about. I think he's the second best controller in Korea behind Mako. Just an unbelievable talent. He's so clutch. He's got a lot of those same kind of characteristics that some of the best controllers in the world have, where he's cagey, he's smart, and he's also reliable as a guy who you can have as not just a side anchor, but who can come in and win you rounds when things look bad. So I'm really excited about this. I was already excited about them. I think TS is doing a wonderful job shot calling with this team. Bale's a great coach. Meteor, of course, we know he's a known quantity as a duelist, a very, very talented player. I think this team is going to surprise. I'm really, really looking forward to them playing this year.
I mean, one of the things that I wanted to see the most from Gen G at lock-in was how King was going to perform. Because we saw some ups and downs from him when he was playing on Slayers, and it was just like, okay, has he not really found the groove? Now here, I mean, granted, we only got to see them play one series.
Also in Loud series.
But it was also an incredible matchup.
Yes.
And they were able to push Loud in ways that we had never really anticipated. And King was a really big part of that. His Viper that he was playing on Pearl was just nasty. And it's good to see that King is back to just kind of being the king of side anchors. I think with Bile there being the coach, this is going to be a team that you have to watch out for that could definitely be challenging for the crown in the Pacific League. So, I mean, I definitely have my eyes trained on these guys.
DRX, did they perform better, worse, or exactly as you thought they would?
I would say slightly worse.
Slightly worse.
Slightly worse.
Slightly worse.
Okay.
Slightly worse.
I thought they'd get to the finals.
I thought they were pretty favorites to make it to the finals, if not win the whole thing. Granted, Fnatic looked terrifying, so if they had gone up against them, who knows how the hell that goes. But there was definitely a lot of shakiness from them that I kind of didn't really anticipate, given that they have played in front of a large crowd at this point. So I thought that they would be able to deal with that a little bit better, but we did see a decent amount of inconsistency from them. Again, that really slow start to the series, having to be in a position to reverse sweep again, much like we saw from them versus Optic. It's really rough. They need to be able to have stronger starts to these sets rather than being put in the position consistently.
Now, the good news is that with the kind of combining of all these teams from all these different areas in Asia into one, kind of unit, it's going to force DRX to be better, right? This is going to be the best challenge that DRX has had, and it is going to make them be better. Because we know the talent's there. We've seen it. We know that this team has maybe the 5 best players in Pacific right now in almost every role that they play.
Potentially the best controller in the world?
Easily the best controller in the world.
People
Hands
are
down.
comparing that?
Hands down. Yep.
Mako's best controller in the world.
Period.
Okay. All right. Another team I know you like to talk about, Clinton, is the Boomer team, right? Team Secret. Listen, they say it themselves, all right? I'm not ashamed. I mean, it's a fact.
This is why we get along, especially Jesse and Dubstep. Like, he and I get along really well because we're all over the age of 30. Yeah. But I love these guys. They're super nice guys. And, they haven't been great last year. If we're just being perfectly honest, it was not the year they wanted last year at all. No. And I did not have high expectations for them, and it's not to do with anything that in terms of who they are as players or anything like that. It's just the results from last year weren't good. Yeah. And so this year, I was like, well, I don't know. Let's see what they do. And they came in, they look great, especially Jesse Vash. Like, he looks rejuvenated. He's incredible.
Yeah. And he's calling as well. So, I mean, at lock-in, just in general, a lot of these IGLs seem to have upgraded overall in both their calling and their aim. But I was impressed with Jesse as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of things with Jesse really impressed me. Not just he's obviously been an IGL for a while for the team. He's been a multi-esport pro across tons of different esports. Like, he is the absolute esport journeyman. But beyond that, he's the oldest player on the team. And now he's leading by example. This is what I think is really important for Secret, and what gives me a lot of confidence for Secret this year is that Jesse's leading by example. He's coming out there and he's not only calling good games, but he's playing out of his mind. His aim is improved. He's clearly putting in the work and the time behind the scenes, and he looks really, really good this year. So I think that's great for all the young players they're bringing in and kind of the future of Team Secret as they go on in the future of the VCT.
Yeah. Let's talk about T1, another team that only got to play one series.
There's two things that I really took away from their series. One was that Furia were way better than I anticipated.
Well, yes, Furia was very good.
Ending up taking that Fnatic into overtime in the next series as well on Haven was a really good showing from Furia. Second thing that I learned, Carpe, very good. Very damn good at playing this game. His aim is looking crisp. He was the biggest question mark going into this tournament about how he was going to perform. He showed up in this event, and it looked like he was the only player on T1 that showed up at this event. He was absolutely the best player that they had in that lobby, which is surprising to say, considering that you have so many career Valorant players now in Zeta and Munchkin.
Yeah, if all of these gears start clicking together for T1, this could be a very scary team. Could be second or third best team in the Pacific region, I think. Because, you know, we've seen what Saya Player is capable of when he was on the guard. We've seen what all these players have been capable of on different teams. Now it's just getting all the, you know, like I said, all the gears clicking together so that it functions as one engine and they can all roll with it.
The way you put it, I do agree with that, right? Where the biggest question mark has now become a solid foundation. And so the other known quantities, they just have to kind of get back into the groove and hopefully they can perform. Obviously, a lot of people, there's still hype around them just because of not just the brand, but the player names like Saya, like Munchkin. These guys have proven themselves before. So
we just talked about Zeta. Zeta was on Cloud9. Cloud9, you know who they played against? Paper X. Let's talk about Paper X.
Oh, okay.
This is, again, a painful tournament. This is the second time now that we've kind of walked away expecting great things out of Paper X, and they've been falling flat. They need to actually play more standard Valorant, is what I'm starting to kind of realize here, because they continue to show some really neat ideas. The walls on Lotus to be able to go ahead and get that quick pick, taking down the Neon and everything. Those were neat, but then they're just so all over the place. I need to see more structure, because we know what they're capable of, and I desperately want to see them get back into that structure.
And I think this gives us a good segue into another team that has a similar story arc, right? Zeta.
I want to talk about the most important thing, which was actually Benkai's walkout.
I was going to do that too. You shut the hell up.
Yeah, how dare you skip the actual core of the show?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Which
well, him and Boaster
how
have
many
to
costumes does he bring? Does he bring just 10? I mean, what are they going to look at? Do you think he's going to do walkouts every time?
Probably.
Even in Seoul, just every week, week after week.
Yeah, knowing Benkai.
I would love to. Have you guys ever guessed his walkout correctly?
No. Not even close.
How are you gonna know what that
guy, I don't know what that guy's thinking any moment of the day.
When he did the snail,
that is unbelievable. That is just
was impressive.
He committed to it for so long.
For a very long time. I thought he would give up, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, if you're gonna do it, this is the way you do it. You do it all the way to the end. But now we can talk about the boring things again. Can we talk about the actual game in the league again? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to say a team that had a similar story arc to Paper Rex, right, where they played really well at one event last year. All of a sudden, the hype and the hopes for this region and this team were through the roof in that Zeta division, right? Like, I mean, a team that I was so enamored with. I was so happy for, like, to see a Japanese esports team perform like this at that level. They're a team that you know, has a lot of great personalities. You can see how much they care. I mean, you see Laz, you know, getting so emotional after so many of their games and things like that. They looked like they just hit this amazing groove, and they were going to be the banner carriers for Japanese esports going forward. Since then, though, it's kind of fallen apart. They just haven't looked like the same team since Reykjavik last year.
I think that this has been a pretty big hit to some of the shifts that they made in who's playing what, and as well as the meta right now, because with Chamber out, it's so many teams scrambling. So many teams scrambling to figure out, you know, what are we going to do. Laz had been that guy for most people who are paying attention. Like, Laz has been the one that has really taken that team by, you know, take the world by storm on that team that was able to give them that deep run. He needs to be able to find his groove and get comfortable as well. If he's not feeling comfortable, if he's not thriving, then I feel like the whole system is going to suffer.
Yeah, for Zeta, I think they just need to have that confidence and that faith in each other.
I think it's just going to take a little bit more time. But it's another team where it's like the talent is known. It is there. We can see it. We have seen it. Just we need to have the stars align once again. We need to find the players, find their groove, and then they can make it. Because, I mean, just imagine Masters Tokyo, Zeta's there. They make the top three.
It'll be, dude.
They're there. That would be one of the most electric crowds. I mean, you want to talk about Brazil with Loud performing.
Which is also very crazy to see, just the support and the
I think Japan with Zeta there would be even more electrifying.
Now, everyone's favorite thing about esports, let's do some spicy takes. For me, Clinton, you might have already had one, calling T1 getting top 4 within 23. Do you agree that that's a hot take?
He said potentially second as well.
Well,
did you say that?
No, I said top 3. I said third. I think I put the highest.
Roll the tape.
Okay, maybe I did that. But I think third is doable for them at their peak.
That's pretty hot?
at their peak.
If there was like a spicy level of 1 to 10, I'd say that's like an 8.
I think my hotter take is I think actually Gen G is going to be second.
Is that a hot take because they're getting second and not first, or is that a hot take because they're getting second and not
I think
lower?
a lot of teams would place like Paper X or I don't know, maybe even Talon now with how well they played at Lock-In ahead of them.
I
so
see.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Scuttlebutt on the street is a lot of people would say Paper X is the second team. I don't think so. I think Gen G is going to be second. Well, then what's your hot take? I haven't heard anything spicy out of you yet.
Global top 4.
Okay.
I think that global esports can make a top 4 run. I think breaking into the top 3 might be a little bit too difficult, but I think that over the course of this season, given what we saw, given the caliber of player that they have, I think that they'll be able to make a run into the top 4.
You know what? I think Sugar Zero might be able to prove himself as like a top IGL within Pacific by the end of the season. It's going to take some time. And if that happens, that should hopefully translate to Zeta Division getting to Masters, and then we'll be able to see them on an international stage again. So that's what I'm going to put on. I'm going to put my hopes in Sugar Zero.
I think it's definitely possible. I think that he is that caliber player that can make it happen. We just have to see it in practice.
Yeah. So let's talk about our first week matchups. Obviously, every team's going to play each other at least once, but we're going to open with some big matches. And I think, as everyone would have wanted to, the very first opening match is going to be DRX versus Zeta. DRX and Zeta, they both had some high rankings last year. Predictions?
DRX. It's going to be DRX.
Yeah.
Just given the consistency from DRX, they continue to place incredibly well at every event that they go to. I think that if Zeta comes out and they can beat DRX,
well, yeah.
Oh my God!
Well, that'd be huge.
That would be one of the biggest upsets that we've seen in a very, very long time.
But then the very second match, I believe, on the opening day, this should be a fun one because it's going to be a battle of 2 Korean Jets that haven't had a chance to play against each other. It's Global Esports versus T1.
Man, this is really tough to call
this
for
one's
me.
a tough one.
I think GE is a little bit better pound for pound overall right now, but that can change really quickly either way.
And then on day 2, we're going to have Paper Rex coming in. They're playing against Destination Focus Me. Both teams that I think now need to prove themselves again after their performances at Lock-In. Who's winning this one?
I think it's got to be Paper X, just given the history of the team, given that they've stayed together. It's still the same 5-man core. DFM, there's a lot of improvement I think that needs to happen. So if they do beat Paper X, be an insane upset.
Yeah, Paper X. I go with Paper X. But I think it'll be decently close, I think.
Okay. And then it's going to be the 2 of the Southeast Asian teams going up against each other. It's going to be Talon versus Team Secret. This one, I think a lot of people will favor Talon, and I'm going to take the safe route. I think Talon's winning this one, but I think probably a close match.
I think Team Secret. I'm going to go with Team Secret. I think I'm a little bit kind of riding the hopium, I guess, with Team Secret.
Sure. I'd favor Talon here, just given that they were able to push DRX a little bit harder, and I think that Secret, again, they need to show us a little bit more, considering that Liquid looked very out of sorts.
And then on day 3, the last day of week 1, it's going to the 2 teams that haven't played a match yet, coming into Pacific. It's Gen G versus RQ, and I'll go ahead and say I do think RQ is going to put up a strong fight. Gen G probably still wins, but I think RQ is going to shock a lot of people swinging out the gate right off the bat.
I think they definitely can, and I think that they put up a slightly stronger performance, especially in their second map at Lock-In. So clearly, with the veteran presence on this team, there's a lot of hope for them to be able to do well. It's more about how well can they build up and guide these 3 rookie players that they have. I agree. I think that there's potential for them to make this competitive, but I would have to go with Gen G.
Just before we wrap up, I mean, how do you think Pacific's going to do overall, not just at Masters, but by Champions? You think Pacific's really going to continue to prove to everyone that this might be the strongest region?
This is our year.
I'm on record saying this, that I think DRX is going to be in the finals at Champions this year.
It's an inevitability.
DRX is going to be the finals, but then it's going to be another Pacific team, and they're going to win.
See, that would be the best. That would be the absolute prime timeline right there.
I mean, that'd be crazy. Whichever team wins.
It's going to be DRX versus Sentinels in Los Angeles, and everyone's going to be there wearing their Sentinels jerseys.
Koreatown's going crazy in LA.
And then Buzz is just gonna dash and blade storm all over their faces, and it's just gonna be a slaughter.
I mean, again, it'd be great to see not just yours, but any Pacific team in a finals. That's the next step, right? We've seen Pacific teams get 3rd place countless times now. So to see them in the finals and actually win, right, and getting to the finals a second time would be absolutely thrilling, I think, for the entire region and all the teams involved.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, thanks so much for having us here. For everyone watching, don't forget to tune in. We're going to kick off VCT Pacific on March 25th, and then we're live every weekend until we finish the top 3 who will be going to Masters Tokyo. We'll see you there.